Simon Cowell went into shock when 7-year-old said, "My dead sister visits me, and she says you need to pay." The words hit Simon Cowell like ice water in his veins. 7-year-old Maya Roberts stood alone on the Britain's Got Talent stage, her small voice cutting through the studio silence with supernatural precision. "My dead sister visits me every night, and she says you need to pay for what you did to her." Simon's face went white as bone. His hands gripped the judge's table until his knuckles turned purple, and for the first time in his career, the most powerful man in entertainment looked genuinely terrified. What this little girl was about to reveal would expose a buried secret that Simon thought had died with her sister 2 years ago. But to understand why those 13 words sent shockwaves through Simon's soul, we need to go back to where this nightmare began. It was a cold February morning at the London Palladium, and Britain's Got Talent was holding auditions that should have been routine. Simon sat in his familiar position, that calculating expression firmly in place, ready for another day of sorting dreams from delusions. The morning had been typical, a parade of hopeful performers ranging from genuinely talented to utterly delusional. "Next up," announced the production coordinator, "we have Maya Roberts, age 7, from Liverpool. She says she has a message to deliver." Simon glanced up with mild annoyance. Children with messages usually meant another sob story designed to manipulate the judges. He settled back in his chair, prepared for 3 minutes of orchestrated emotion. But when Maya Roberts walked onto that stage, something was immediately wrong. She moved with an eerie stillness that was unsettling in someone so young. Her dark hair hung limp around a pale face, and her eyes held a haunted quality that seemed impossible for a 7-year-old. She wore a simple black dress that looked like it belonged at a funeral, not a talent show. "Hello there," Simon said, his voice taking on the warmer tone he used for children. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Maya Roberts," she replied, her voice flat and emotionless. "I'm here because my sister told me to come." "Your sister? That's nice. Is she here with you today?" Maya's eyes fixed on Simon with laser intensity. "No, Mr. Cowell, my sister is dead, but she talks to me every night." The studio audience shifted uncomfortably. Amanda Holden looked concerned. Alesha Dixon leaned forward with worry. David Walliams had stopped his usual fidgeting entirely. But Simon felt something else, a cold dread creeping up his spine that he couldn't explain. "I'm sorry to hear about your sister, Maya," Simon said carefully. "What was her name?" "Chloe Roberts. She was 9 years old when she auditioned for you 2 years ago. Do you remember her, Mr. Cowell?" Simon's memory clicked with horrible clarity. Chloe Roberts, February 2022, a 9-year-old singer from Liverpool who'd auditioned with an original song about believing in yourself. Simon had been particularly harsh that day, dismissing her performance as childish nonsense and telling her she had no business wasting everyone's time with amateur hour. The girl had left the stage in tears, but that wasn't unusual. Hundreds of contestants left Simon's presence in tears. It was part of his brand. "I remember many contestants," Simon said evasively. "Chloe remembers you too," Maya continued, her voice taking on an otherworldly quality. "She visits me every night, and she tells me things. She told me what happened after you rejected her." Simon's throat felt dry. "Maya, sweetheart, sometimes when we lose someone we love, we imagine—" "She's not imaginary," Maya interrupted with chilling certainty. "She sits on my bed every night and tells me about the place where she is now, and she's very, very angry about what you did to her." The studio was dead silent now. Even the camera operators seemed frozen in place. What does she tell you?" Simon asked, despite every instinct telling him not to. Maya's expression didn't change, but her voice dropped to a whisper that somehow carried clearly through the studio. "She tells me how you laughed when she cried, how you said her song was stupid and her dreams were worthless, how she went home that day and stopped eating because she felt so ashamed." Simon's face was losing color rapidly. The details Maya was reciting weren't public knowledge. They were from the unedited footage that had been buried in BGT's archives. "She tells me about the bullies at school who saw her audition online and called her Simon's reject, how she stopped going to school because everyone laughed at her, how Mom and Dad fought every night about whether to sue you for what you did to their little girl." Simon tried to speak, but no words came out. His hands began trembling against the judge's table. "But most of all," Maya continued, her 7-year-old voice carrying the weight of supernatural authority, "she tells me about the night she couldn't take the pain anymore. When she took all of Mom's sleeping pills because she said maybe if she went to sleep forever, the hurt would stop." The studio audience gasped collectively. Several people in the front row were crying, but Maya wasn't finished delivering her sister's message. "Chloe says you never even noticed when she died. She says you just kept making fun of kids and breaking their hearts like nothing happened. She says you need to pay for what you did to her and all the others. That's when Simon Cowell went into complete shock. His face turned completely white, his breathing became rapid and shallow, and his entire body began shaking uncontrollably. For several seconds he couldn't speak, couldn't move, couldn't do anything but stare at this 7-year-old messenger from beyond the grave. "Maya," Amanda Holden said gently, trying to intervene. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" But Maya's eyes never left Simon. "Chloe says she's not the only one who visits children at night. She says there are others, lots of others, who died because of what you said to them, and they're all waiting for you to pay." Simon tried to stand up, but his legs wouldn't support him. The most feared judge in entertainment was having a complete breakdown, triggered by a child who claimed to speak to his victims from beyond death. Your sister," Simon stammered, his voice barely audible. "What happened to Chloe wasn't— I didn't mean for—" "Chloe says you did mean it," Maya replied with devastating certainty. "She says you enjoyed hurting her. She says you enjoy hurting all the children who trust you, and she says the price for that is coming soon." The cameras captured every second of Simon's terror, but what happened next would never air on television. Maya walked directly to the judge's table and stared up at Simon with eyes that seemed to hold knowledge no 7-year-old should possess. "Chloe wanted me to tell you something special, Mr. Cowell. She says she'll be waiting for you when your time comes, and she says she won't be alone." Simon's breathing became so labored that paramedics were called to the studio. His complete breakdown lasted nearly 10 minutes, during which he repeatedly whispered, "I'm sorry, and I didn't know," to an empty chair where he claimed he could see a little girl in a white dress. The audition footage was immediately classified and locked away. Maya Roberts and her family were paid a substantial sum to never speak about what happened that day. The official story was that Maya had suffered a psychotic break triggered by grief over her sister's death. But those who were in the studio that day knew they had witnessed something far more disturbing than a child's delusion. 6 months later, Simon announced he was taking an indefinite break from judging talent competitions. He cited health concerns, but insiders reported that he'd been having recurring nightmares about children who visited him in his sleep, demanding payment for dreams he'd destroyed. Maya Roberts disappeared from public view after that day. Some say her family moved to another country to escape the media attention. Others whisper that she was institutionalized after claiming that more and more dead children were visiting her with messages for Simon Cowell. But the most chilling part of the story came a year later, when a paranormal investigator revealed that Chloe Roberts had indeed taken her own life with sleeping pills 3 months after her BGT rejection. The coroner's report, sealed for privacy reasons, confirmed that she had left a note saying she couldn't live with the shame of being Simon's biggest failure. Simon Cowell returned to television eventually, but he was never the same. His critiques became gentler, his manner more cautious, and those who worked with him reported that he would sometimes stop mid-sentence and stare at empty corners of rooms, as if seeing something that wasn't there. The question that haunted everyone who witnessed Maya's performance wasn't whether she was really communicating with her dead sister. The question was, if she was, how many other children were waiting in line to deliver their own messages to the man who had destroyed their dreams and ended their lives? Because as Maya had said with that supernatural certainty, they're all waiting for you to pay. And some debts, according to those who believe in justice from beyond the grave, can never be escaped, no matter how powerful you are in this world.